All right. It is day number 28 of our self-discovery journey to self-discovery with our journal challenge. And today we are going to be talking about accountability. Um, we brought this up a lot during the last couple of weeks, and so, well, the last 3 weeks actually. We're on 3 weeks. We're actually going into week 4. Hey, Kathy! Happy birthday! So today we're going to kind of uncover that and talk about the difference between accountability and blame, okay? And so, as I've said throughout the month, that we want to look at where we are accountable and not blaming ourselves or blaming others, and not pointing fingers and using that to not take responsibility for how we contribute to the way we walk through the world, okay? And so again, today is day number 28. We've been doing this every day this month, and if you would like to get the questions and access all of the videos from this month, then just text journal 30 to 39492, or you can click the link in the description, okay? So as you know, we always start with what can I do, or what have I done, I should say, this day so far to bring me towards my best self. What type of choices and what have I done to make sure that I am in alignment with the person that I aspire to be? We always take that inventory before we, start our 15 minutes of self-discovery each night. And so today or tonight is no different. So I always want you to start there. Make sure that you are looking back through your journal and kind of just, seeing, what came up for you this month and the things that stood out for you the most as far as what you need to cultivate and nurture within yourself. Okay, so let's get started with accountability. So again, accountability is not about blame. It's just taking a look at where you contributed something. It's just taking, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. We definitely are accountable for things that are positive as well, but when we are looking at the difference between accountability and blame, of course we are speaking about things that have more of a negative connotation to them, okay? So when we look at accountability, we're looking at what can be learned from a situation. We're looking at what type of consideration should be made to change and transition into something else. And we're also looking at how to do that in a healthy way. Now, when we're looking at blame, the difference is we're talking about finger pointing. We're usually saying, it's your fault. And what that leads to is, how can I get you back? How can I make you pay? And so that's the energy typically around blame. And that is why we need to know the difference, because when we are looking at where we are accountable, we don't want to do the negative self-talk and take on trying to make ourselves pay. And that's rooted in forgiveness, okay? If we can't forgive ourselves and forgive others, then we will set up situations to make someone pay. We'll feel like we have to say something. We feel like we have to do something, and it's very vengeful and it's very vindictive. And so that is why we need to look at what the difference is between the two. Blame is also about punishment. That's all it is punishment. As I said, when we think about making someone pay for something, okay, it's I'm right and you're wrong. And what we do when we do that, we set ourselves up to not take inventory and look within to see what it is that we need to learn about ourselves. Okay, so that's going to bring us to our first journal question, which is, when look at a situation in your life where you have maybe some resentment around and some blame, and I want you to take a really deep inventory and look at where you are accountable. You're just basically looking at what you have contributed in a certain situation. You're going to look at Did you try to make someone pay? You know, was it full of blame and fault? That is our first journal question, okay? Think about that and think really hard about it too, because there are situations, I know in your mind, you're like, you know, but no, this was so-and-so's, you know, fault. I really had nothing to do with that. No, 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 no. You have to look at, when we look at, again, accountability, we're looking at what we can learn from a situation, what our contribution. Sometimes your contribution can just be what you allowed to happen. You know, hey, Lori, it could be what you allowed to go on. It could be what you didn't speak up about and what you did not communicate clearly. You know, yesterday we talked about expectations, and I told you how when we have expectations, we set ourselves up to resent others because either we communicate or don't communicate something. And when a person doesn't follow that program of what we have in our head, then we start to resent them. So we're just looking today at what our contributions are in different situations in our life where we feel that we have been done wrong, okay? So that's our first question for today. Also, going back to blame, we like I said, we're doing self-discovery this month. So when you're blaming someone, you miss out on the opportunity for growth and development, because again, you're not looking within, you're just looking at the other person, and you naturally are going to set up fear around a situation. Because if I feel that I am, if I have fear, I should say, then I'm going to feel I need to protect myself. Okay. And so if you create a situation where there's fear in that situation, then you're not going to have room for the other person to develop or for you to develop as well. Be mindful that when we are coming to the table about accountability, we have to have open communication, okay? And so you have to be willing to have these hard conversations, but first you have to look within yourself before you can even start that conversation. Remember on, I don't remember what day, but we talked about awareness. And so it's about having awareness about what your emotions are and what you feel and what's triggering those emotions, and then moving to a point of acceptance about those emotions as well. Okay, and so our second question is, I want you to think about, when you think about whatever that situation is where you know you want to take some inventory about accountability, I want you to write down what your aha moment is. What is your aha moment, and what sense of understanding can you nurture moving forward? So you're looking at question one, you're going to look at what is the situation, how are you accountable, what did you contribute, and now you're going to look at what type of understanding can you gather from that situation. So it's two parts, but again, I don't expect you to answer those questions right now because I really want you to take a really deep look. And it's really hard, you know, and I realize that to take inventory about something that is painful, where you feel like you have been done wrong and it's so-and-so's fault, okay? But again, we're looking at accountability just so we can develop and we can grow, because once you get some understanding around the way you walk through the world and what you contribute in your relationships, it's going to help you moving forward, so you grow in that area and you don't repeat those same things. And when we continue to see the same type of learnings pop up in our life, is because we really have not learned, okay? The lessons will continue to over and over and over and over because we have not learned yet. And so we're talking about mastery now when we're thinking about our character. And when we think about the way we show up, we're trying to master what we contribute and making sure that, again, we are in alignment as we, you know, make those hard decisions. And a lot of times it's not going to be easy, but if you really are willing and you're open, you can do the work, but you have to be willing, okay? And so that brings us to our affirmation. And it says, I look to see where I'm accountable in all situations. I look to see where I'm accountable in all situations. Growing and development is a priority for me. Growing and development is a priority for me. So I'll say it again. I look to see where I'm accountable in all situations. Growing and development is a priority for me. When you are committed to being better and growing, you will always look to see where you are accountable. And yes, there will be situations where you might not have as much weight. Your accountability might not be at the same level as the other person, but it's not about who's more accountable than the other. All you're looking for is to see where you can grow and be a better person, okay? And so I want you to take a look at 3 parts. Again, we talked about how blame cultivates fear, how it's rooting in, I'm going to get you back, I'm going to pay you back. Anytime you can think about the person in your life who's very vindictive and always has to get someone back, or maybe it's you. You have to look at when you operate in that mindset, then it's really hard for you to grow. And we're not talking about a hybrid model either. I don't want you to look at where you're accountable and still mix in the blame piece. Like, okay, yeah, I'll contribute with this and that, but still I'm going to make them pay. I'm going to get them back. You're not growing, and that's really not authentic accountability, okay? So, and if you're feeling like that, I need you to go back and watch the video on forgiveness. So first thing you need to do is be willing to take inventory. Be willing to take inventory so that you can have healthy awareness and move into healthy acceptance around a situation. Inventory is just looking in and figuring out, okay, how am I feeling? What are the emotions that are triggered? What exactly are those emotions? And what have I contributed to this? And also accepting this, okay? Accepting it. So that's the inventory piece. And then the next thing you're going to do is be willing to have communication. Be willing to come to the table. You might not be ready immediately, but you need to be willing to have a conversation about accountability, not to have a conversation to point fingers and tell someone what they did wrong, okay? And the next thing is to be willing to make the adjustments. You have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to make some type of pivot or some type of transition, okay? So that's 3 parts. And that's all I have for you. We've talked about a lot over the last 3 weeks, and we're moving into week 4. And so I really want you to go back, look in your journal, see what has really stood out for you over the last 3 and 4 weeks. And also, I want you to pick an affirmation or 2 or 3 that really resonates with something that you need to develop and to cultivate within yourself and within your character. And I will see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I thank you again because you all have made me so accountable. That's our word for today. You've made me so accountable by being here with you and committing to be here with you every day at 8 o'clock. So I will see you on tomorrow. And again, do not forget to go back and review your journal. See you tomorrow. Good night.